Snap to Prescott. A little play action. Standing. Deep post. Caught. Lamb. Touchdown.
Burke back to pass. He's going to heave one to JJ to the right.
It was so crazy. It felt like it was unreal. It felt like a movie.
And he caught it at the middle 40. What a grab!
I told everybody this is our season for us to win out and to go to the Super Bowl.
Vikings Cowboys, just one of the fantastic matchups to turn our attention to as we roll into week 11 of the NFL season. We got triplets here.
You
know
look
what,
just
guys?
like us.
No, I don't. I've got a whole different
He has
color
a pattern, and actually we're kind of closer than they are.
Yeah.
I do want to say,
people like me more than you. Anyway.
When y'all decide to all wear the same thing, just let me know. Like, don't leave me out.
Me and you got green. It's green in this.
Man, there ain't no green in your suit, bro.
That is
That's
green in the
Marcus
suit.
Spears, Keyshawn Johnson, Dan Orlovsky, Adam Schefter's with us on a busy Wednesday. We got lots of news. We'll get you updated on all of it. But first, let's dive into that Minnesota-Dallas matchup. I can't with you guys. We'll be in for it today. Dallas actually 1-point favorites in this one on the road at US Bank Stadium. 28 degrees at game time in Minneapolis, by the way. The Vikings coming off the game of the year win over the Bills in overtime. The Cowboys, on the other hand, struggled at Lambeau, losing to the Packers. A couple interceptions for Dak, but listen, really, as Marcus Spears pointed out earlier in the week, the Cowboys' run defense has been a significant cause for concern this season. They rank at the bottom of the league in yards per rush, run stop win rate, and have allowed 40 rushes of 10-plus yards. They've also allowed 200 rush yards in back-to-back games. Yikes. Something Dallas has allowed just 3 times over the last 20 seasons. They've done it back-to-back. Marcus, what has been the reason for the struggles for this Cowboys run defense?
Yeah, well, we had the tape earlier this week, and it was just poor communication. One side doing the right thing, the opposite side doing the wrong thing. But the most concerning thing for me was technique, poor steps. There's a lot of intricacies that go into playing the run outside of just being strong enough and physical enough. What makes you a good run defense is everybody being tied together, nobody trying to be a superhero, and every man owning his own gaps. Now, if you have the opportunity to have big physical guys that can reset a line of scrimmage, this old school football I'm talking about, the expectation when I played was to reset the line of scrimmage. Y'all have heard that before. Sure. You want to play 1 or 2 yards in the offense's backfield. That's realistic but unrealistic a lot, right? Yeah. Dallas is in this thing where they want to run around blocks. They have selfish guys trying to backdoor blocks because they think they're fast enough to get back down the line and cut off the backside. And when you look at it, when you take a deep dive into the tape, sometimes it's not even offensive linemen doing anything but stepping in the right direction. And guys are blocking themselves. So they got a lot of major issues. They're fixable. But in order for them to be fixable, every single guy on that front has to be committed to doing their job and not anyone else's.
It's almost more like an attitude change,
100%.
which is interesting to try to make
100%.
in the middle of the season. What have you seen, Dan, from the Vikings run scheme that Dallas is going to have to look out for?
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of trying to use formations to create personnel matchups in their run game. So they've started to do this. They did a little bit last week against Buffalo. Also, Green Bay did this very same thing against Dallas last week. And so everybody home, there's 2 different things. There's difference between formation strength and passing strength. When the ball's on the right hash, we usually take our tight end, who would be our formation strength, and we put him into the boundary, okay? So ball on the right hash would technically mean, I want everyone to pay attention to 2 people, the tight end and the wide receiver. Now, he's the formation strength. Usually he would be into the boundary, and that receiver, who is the passing strength, the majority of our wide receivers, they would be to the field. Well, Minnesota flips that, right? They put the receiver into the boundary and the tight end to the field. Now, defensively, you're going to match that as well. You take your linebacker and you match him to the formation strength tight end, and then you take your nickel back, the smaller guy, and you put him into the passing strength in the boundary. Well, Minnesota's going to do what we call that speed sweep motion, snap it at the motion, right? What happens is they kick that backer, and now that nickel kicks. Instead of them flipping that and going nickel run all the way here and backer get in the box, all they do is just kick it down. Now what happens is this. When that ball's going to get snapped, we've created a 4-strong formation technically. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this linebacker's going to hang just a little bit. Now what happened for me offensively is I have technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys blocking because I'm leaving this defensive end unblocked, okay? you defensively, because the way that formation has happened, only have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys versus my 5 in the run game. Automatically, I've got a great advantage. But here's the biggest point. Because that nickel back became the in-box guy, I've got a 310-pound guard blocking a 190-pound nickel back, and then I get a huge gashing run. Green Bay did it against Dallas last week. By the way, Green Bay and Minnesota are from the same family when it comes to their run game. So I think that's something for the Cowboys. And don't forget, the Cowboys have lost Anthony Brown. They lost Jordan Lewis. They potentially have a rookie playing at nickel. So how they handle some of that stuff is going to go a long way trying to slow down Minnesota's run game.
Copycat league, right? You mentioned Green Bay, you mentioned Minnesota running the ball. All they got to do is heavy dose of Dalvin Cook. Okay, in the run game and both in the pass game. It's a bad matchup, I believe, for the Dallas Cowboys. Much like you said, when you're running away on the outside perimeter on the edge, you now have guys like Michael Parsons chasing on the backside. Not only do you wear him down, you also wear down the rest of the defensive line, because you know what Dalvin Cook can do. He can run on the perimeter, he can run in between the tackles, and if they decide to get him involved in the pass game, that's another added element to what they want to do offensively.
Yeah, Key, Dalvin Cook has the 3rd most rush yards before contact this season of any running back in the league. He's making it happen before he even hits anybody.
The other difficult part is, to your point, Dan, not having those guys diagnose and run pass. Right? That's why we saw Christian Watson get off. Because once you move that nickel in the box, and it is play action, he's not used to read and run the pass. He's used to being on the outside dealing with a wide receiver, playing run late. So I love that tape because it puts them in conflict just based on what their jobs are.
And think about it. I've got a numbers advantage, and I had 130 pounds of advantage physically. I mean, that's a big thing, and they will see that this weekend.
Yeah, already uncomfortable. Then you add that mismatch. All right, Adam, the Dallas run game has been without Ezekiel Elliott their last 2 games. What's the latest on his status for Sunday?
Come on, Shefty.
Laura, the Dallas Cowboys are scheduled to have a walkthrough practice about 1 hour from now, and the sense is that Ezekiel Elliott will be a part of that practice. We'll see to what degree. It is a walkthrough, nothing more, and they are playing the 8-1 Vikings, and they did hold them off last week, and I think part of that is to make sure that there's a bigger picture in mind. That bigger picture could include an 8-1 Vikings team. They certainly could use him back this weekend. Mike McCarthy is about to meet with reporters. I'm sure he'll fill in people at that point in time. What is expected of Zeke today at the walkthrough, the rest of the week? My sense is he's got a real chance to play on Sunday. They thought he would play last week, and he didn't. We'll see if that holds true again this week.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on what McCarthy said. Bring it to you, of course, as soon as we have it. Adam with us for the rest of the show as well. To another top story today, Deshaun Watson back at practice as his suspension is coming to a close. You see him back out there. Kimberly Martin is there in Cleveland. Kimberly, what more can you tell us?
Hey, guys. Yeah, so today is a really important day. It might not seem like much, but Deshaun practiced for the first time today since the suspension came down, and it's going to be baby steps. This is part of his reacclimation process to this team. He is QB1, but all season Jacoby Brissett has been QB1, and so Kevin Stefanski is walking that fine line of trying to get Jacoby Brissett prepared to face the Buffalo Bills in a snowstorm, but also getting Deshaun Watson reps in practice so that in a couple weeks when he is starting, that he's ready to go. And Kevin Stefanski did not want to get into specifics about how they would divvy up reps, but I've been told Deshaun will get a few reps early. But I talked to Jacoby Brissett, and I asked him, is this going to be awkward? How does this set you back in any way? And he said, not at all, because think about it. That offseason, what were they doing? Splitting reps in this very unconventional way. And Jacoby told me, look, the sort of reps that Deshaun is going to get, it'll be things that I've done 30, 40 times already this season, so it won't at all affect his preparation, Laura.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jacoby Brissett, the ultimate professional, too. He's been through this in a different way many times before as a backup. Thanks to Kimberly for the latest there. Watson was suspended 11 games, and he was fined $5 million, ordered to follow a treatment program in August for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy as a result of allegations of sexual assault on massage therapists in 2020 and 2021, as defined by the league. Watson, who has maintained his innocence, still faces 2 active lawsuits, one of which was filed on October 13th. He settled 23 lawsuits over the summer, while another lawsuit was dropped. 2 more women filed criminal complaints but did not sue. 2 grand juries in Texas declined to pursue criminal charges.